Alrighty. I was going to lay down for a nap. I don't know if I really can have one. Anyway, I'll talk about the whole experience there and the thoughts and whatnot. Some of them I've sort of outlined in other videos, but we'll sort of get it all as a whole package. Interesting to note, I slept 2 nights below freezing in a row, and while I'm not saying I had the most comfortable night's sleep, it wasn't too bad, and only one of those nights I used a little bit of electric heating. Yep. Last night I woke up 1:45 AM, went outside for a piss, and I could see there was ice building up. There's not as much as when I got up in the morning, but it was definitely starting to build up on top of the vehicle. Not a little bit, there was quite a bit. There was at least half of what there was in the morning. And after that time, I needed a little bit of electric heat. I ended up using the USB battery and one of those USB heating pads, and I was laying on my side. By the way, this cushion I got to replace this memory foam pillow, she's a little bit too tall. Hopefully it's going to, this has only been used for one night. Hopefully it's going to compress down over a couple of weeks. It is only a $3 heap of Chinese junk, so it should compress a little bit more. You can stretch your legs fully with that fake wall, but your head literally has to touch the reflectix of the tailgate, and it's sort of really to do with the size of that cushion. So when that flattens down a bit, that'll be alright. Fortunately, the pillowcases I made for the memory foam one actually perfectly fit that cushion, thankfully. What I ended up doing, I didn't really want to lay directly on that heating pad in case I bent it and I broke the damn nichrome wire or whatever resistance wire they're using inside. And then I killed the damn thing. So what I sort of done instead, I made sure I didn't lay directly on top of it. How I done that was I laid on my side, and basically once you lay on your side, your pillows are sort of laying over you almost like a tent, like a V shape. And I had it on the Windows side, and I had it full power, 10 watts, 2 amps USB. And I'm not joking, I almost started to sweat between my arm and my rib cage, basically, my chest, on the arm that was, closest to the roof. And I thought, my gosh, I'm actually a little bit too warm here. So I backed it off to this low, medium, high. I turned it down to low with a little push button thingy. So I was probably only using about 3.5 watts with ice on the roof, and I was warm enough to keep sleeping. Now, admittedly, these 2 throws that I have, I'm surprised actually the cotton ones stretched right up to like the bottom of my rib cage, and then I had the acrylic ones, so they sort of had more or less overlapped on me, and then I had another blanket over the top of that. That's an old blanket from, looks like the mid-80s or something, that I was given by someone else. That's the usual one that I'm usually got in my bed inside, that I thought I had better take, and it was a damn good idea to take it. But you get one sheet, can we say 2, maybe 3 blankets, in the process of having those 2 little throw rugs overlapping. I suppose you could say 3 blankets and 1 sheet. The top 2 inches of that mattress, I think, are a low density memory foam. They're not like the pillow, they're like a softer version, but you really are sinking down into some sort of a memory foam for at least the top 2 inches of that mattress. And you sort of, because of that memory foam, plus it may even be latex, I doubt it, But because of that foam, I should know actually what it is by looking at the catalogue, but because of that foam that's quite obviously in there, and those 2 throws and 1 blanket, which is effectively 3 blankets, you know, I sort of, you create a fairly warm little cocoon there. Now I had 2 beanies on, and obviously the thing that's most annoying is the fact you got to breathe cold air, and I sort of wonder if there isn't some way you could end up breathing warm air as well, you know. Even if it was only warm air near your head, didn't have to be the whole rest of the van, or the whole back of the van, just around there where your head was. You know, I start thinking of things like a sleeping bag with a piece that sort of, you know, is somewhere maybe below your ribs or something. That's a little pod, you know, that's warm sort of thing, and you know, that's an idea. That's an idea. There's another thing I've seen, and I've got to put it up, because I don't think I've put it up. I've got to find where it is. I've got a screenshot of it on my phone somewhere, because it's a few months back. I don't think it's gone up. It probably has. It's a motorbike with a giant, like a circular pod. It's a sleeping pod on the back of the motorbike. Now, I'd hate to think what would happen if you're in this thing and the motorbike fell over, but that's why you've got a good kickstand. But yeah, it was a fiberglass sleeping pod that's actually mounted on top of the motorbike. And I don't know if it sort of telescopes into itself or something to give you a shorter package as you're riding the bike or what, but you see things like that, and some people say coffin, and other people say, well, you know, it's a small insulated space. I start looking at this van. I don't know, those of you who know capsule hotels are very common in Japan. Very common in Japan. And this is where you always have some American prepper or financial talk guy who's, you know, always, I don't know how to say it nicely, like so many Americans don't understand a fucking thing about anything outside the States, saying, oh, this is the houses the workers are forced into, and they show a bloody capsule hotel. It's a hotel that's cheap, and I mean fucking cheap, like 1/5 the usual price of any hotels there. And you get a little bed inside a little pod. It's as simple as that. They stack them usually too high, and you know, basically it's like lockers of people sleeping, if you know what I mean. I'm not exactly saying it's the morgue, but I'm just saying that, you know, you've got your own little, like a shutter system or little screens that you pull down. They're usually like thin little wooden things, or almost like a bamboo thing, and a nice little sleeping pod. And some of the good ones, you know, they include they very often include a communal room that might have like a canteen, and you'll have like free Wi-Fi and PowerPoints all over the place, and there's everyone there working on their laptops before they go to sleep. They've got showers. Some of them actually require you to have a shower. You have to have a shower. You can't stay there until you go through the shower room. That's the way some are set up. But it's just like a little pod, and it's like you've got a little space that's, I think they're, yeah, look, they're probably about 5'6" tall or something like that, maybe 5 foot tall, with a mattress and blankets in there. And almost always you'll have USB charging for your phone, a little shelf to put your phone on, you've got lights in there. Some of the good ones give you earphones with a TV in there as well. And that's, yeah. I sort of almost look at van dwelling as being in a capsule hotel. If you don't know what a capsule hotel is, go look it up. They're CAPSULE hotel. They're fascinating if you've never seen them. But yeah, it's sort of like my little capsule hotel on wheels, except I've actually got a stove. I have to mention, I completely forgot about butane stoves. They always have the flames go yellow and the flames go, because the cans get too cold, and then it shuts off flow as the can starts to quote-unquote ice itself up. Butane doesn't handle temperatures like propane can handle. But it's not just that. Most people don't realise that the side of a propane bottle needs to be around air because it gets cold as it decompresses, as many gases do. That's the idea behind air conditioning. Gases decompress and they make cold or take heat away or whatever you want to call it. So they've got to be there to be warmed up by the outside atmosphere. The trouble with these butane cans is they're nice and cheap because they're like aerosol cans. I mean, they really are like rattle cans for spray painting, you know. Like fly spray can, just your average aerosol can. The only trouble is, I don't know if it's the butane or it's the can, but they did get too cold and they freeze up. And that same thing can happen with if you've ever seen the giant space heaters. We used to have one when I was doing my apprenticeship. Damn thing used to ice up all the time, you know. Just drawing too much gas off too quickly for the temperature that's around it because it was fairly low temperature as this thing's drawing gas off and it freezed very quickly. It still keep running, but there's ice on the outside of the propane bottle, which was exactly the level of the propane inside. Some of you would know what I'm talking about and have seen this. So, yeah, I'm sort of glad that I did get a double burner because I've realised you can play eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You put it on one, when that one backs off and starts going low, then you put it on the other one. If that one starts going low, you can swap it back to the first one. And I've been doing that these last 2 cold mornings, and you know, hey, I done it last night, I done it this morning, and I done it yesterday morning, and it works fine. I just completely forgot that that's the way butane stoves work. I used to have one, but that was a little while ago, and I haven't. I haven't used one in so long. I sort of forgot about it. But yeah, that explains all that. So that was a bit of a boo-boo on my memory. But yeah, I think really speaking, van dwelling, I don't think it's too impossible. And I think one of the skills you're going to need is to be able to fall asleep anywhere. Like, I'm not saying anywhere, but I'm saying you got to be able to relax and fall asleep. And with me, it wasn't too bad. You know, like between the people on the left of me, a few hundred yards away, and the people on the right, you know, there was more than a quarter mile between each of my neighbours. You know, and I was a few hundred yards away. And it was, well, aside from a bit of highway traffic in the background, by the way, that big highway, that's the one that sort of links our capital with a capital in South Australia. That's one of the more common ones. It sort of goes a bit north before it goes to the west, but that's one of the major ones, and it's, you know, hell of a lot of big rigs, a lot of them. And you can hear them all running, you know, down the exhaust brakes, like the Jake brake and all that sort of stuff at night. And then generally not too bad with that. Some of them give the others a bit of a blast because someone's obviously cutting someone off in an overtaking lane or whatever. And you just hear this constant rumble behind you. And then I was parked right near where all the frogs were, and I found out early the next morning walking around it, you know, it's that's the only spot where there's significant frogs. So, but all the same, you know, as long as little possum wasn't going to walk on my roof, you know, it's quite easy to sleep. But I think you need. It's not that you need quietness, because some people, and I'm one of these people, can fall asleep around large amounts of noise. So long as the noise is a consistent roar. And it's quite easy to do because farmers do that when they're working long hours and you know, got tractors and equipment roar, and you can just fall asleep at the sound of the stuff, sort of thing. Some people can, others can't. I can. But I think if you're easily freaked out or easily, you know, get your feathers ruffled, it's no good. You got to be able to say, okay, relax and get yourself to relax and sleep, and you'll be able to sleep in public without a problem. There's a bit of an etiquette when I was there with these campsites. everybody's just trying to relax, and they're trying to keep out of everyone's way, and nobody sort of wants to stand on anyone's toes. So there's a bit of an etiquette of no one playing loud music or any real bullshit going on, or no one stealing anyone else's stuff, or it's all quite relaxed. Another very interesting point that I have to point out to all you van dwellers scared shitless of being stealth and whatnot, there's different grades, and you've got to understand the system. There's a national parks one, and there's state forests, and there's parks that are ran more locally, and there's attractions, and they've all got different things. It's a bit like your system where you have Indian lands might give you one pass, and you've got BLM lands, and then you've got non-BLM campgrounds. It's a similar, you've got a bit of a structured setup there, and I couldn't quite believe it. So a lot of these have a time limit over here, but there's tricks around this, so you can get out of renting and still have a full-time job. I'll say that again, you can get out of renting and still live in the same spot full-time. The people I house sit for met somebody who had, this will blow your fucking mind, he'd had enough of married life and walked out on his wife and kids. He still saw his oldest son pretty often. He was in an area where there's 3 different ones, and I think there was a 2-week limit or a 3-week limit. He had an enormous a huge big duffel bag, and like an air mattress, and a few clothes, and just, one little single burner butane stove. Someone gave him a propane one with like a 5-pound bottle, and that was no good. His bottle was too heavy. So he likes a little butane one, like the one I've got, but a single burner one with the little disposable butane, aerosol can thingies. And basically this guy, I said, what, was he travelling around a bicycle? Oh, no, you'll never guess. He'd pack his tent up, pack his air mattress up, blankets, not much blankets because it was in an area way up north that's fairly warm. And, his pot and his little aluminium pot and his, 1-burner stove, and he'd throw the whole lot into a sports bag or a duffel bag, like, you know what I mean, the giant big duffel bags, put it on his back, and walk 10 miles to the next national park, and he'd stay there, and he'd rotate between these 3. Imagine how much easier that'd be if he had a van like mine, with a mattress in the back, with a friggin' fridge, with solar panels, dual burner stove, turn the key, go a few miles. Imagine how easy it would be. But it gets better. The place I just come from has no time limit. That's right. There were vehicles, I could tell one had been there for more than 6 months. The grass around it was 9 inches high. It had been there for 3 months. I reckon it had been there for frickin' 9 months or so. These same people who I house sit for, they recommended I go to that place, and I liked the idea of what they said about the solar shower, because it had a solar shower, and it's great. It was friggin' great. If I can set up a solar shower on the roof racks of that thing, I will be set. I will not need to cart around any other shit on the back. No. I should be able to set everything up to mount on the roof rack and come down off the roof rack. All I really need is a great big loop of fabric, and I've got miles of fabric, and that'll be my shower curtain set up. And the rest of it I should be able to gravity feed. Yeah, rightio. I don't know if I'll use air pressure. I could. Don't really have to, and I could just gravity feed it, because effectively what I've got now, that's a gravity fed one. It's an overflow type system, what I've got in the house. So that effectively is gravity, and I'm washing with that every night, and I am so bloody glad that the flow's worse with the one in the house. I've gone from a gallon a minute to 3/4 of a gallon or something like that. It's more than half a gallon, but not a great deal more. And you'll say that's low flow. Wow, the amount of shit I used to have to put up with those blasted 6-volt batteries, the amount of frickin' batteries I went through, the amount of times the bastard failed me, the amount of times I was up a ladder, fucking around trying to disconnect all this stuff, rehook everything all up. Oh, and just the sheer running around looking for the battery, you know, and buying one, and then a month later the bastard failed. Fucking the bullshit I went through with that Coleman hot water on demand. You know, I've had times there where the damn pump wouldn't work, and you give the thing a bloody good shake, and then the pump starts working. You're like, fucking hell. Then you got to take, you know, you got to try and empty the container, siphon all the water out of it, take it out. There's a little filter that gets algae on it, so I'd unscrew that, clean it out with a frickin' toothbrush, re-put it all back in, unladder again, screws in the top of the fucking document tub that had the water, all the fucking bullshit. You know, and this thing, no pumps, no electrical, no electronics, no bullshit. And I'm glad, you know. And I could set up a solar one on that, on the roof rack of that as well, which I'm likely to do. But this place had a solar shower that was, you know, quite decent, and you just got a single tap that's spring-loaded. And my gosh, that thing gave me better showers than the Coleman when the bloody Coleman was working. I'm not joking. You know, it was warmer, I had a high level of flow. You know, they deliberately make you not waste it by having to hold a single tap on all the time. You know, but my gosh, I had a fantastic shower with that thing. How much did it cost? Nothing. It's free. If you would like to give a donation, here's a little, I ended up throwing $5 worth of loose change in there. And, you know, hey, you know, but there's people there that are there for fucking months. And this is the beauty. You can actually not rent and go and camp at these places. And you may say, oh, your place is not secure, this, that, and the other. Yeah, well, you compare that to having a house in White Trashville with meth heads running around, and you see how fucking secure your house is then. You know, it's... Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, with a van, you know, and a bit of, you know, I'm not saying life's easier, but, you know, you can make a go of it. You know, there's some people there had some gear that was fucking brilliant. You know, there's so many of them that had that same hot water system I considered getting, the $290 one you can get from the major hardware chain. They would have that, like, mounted on the front of their camper or on the back or whatever, and you'd see it out and I'd recognise it, because I know the funny, it's got like a dual knob where there's one knob on the outside and another one in the centre of that one. One's for the propane flow, another one's for the water flow. And they'd have like a little tent set up, a little shower tent. And you may even see that have, like, you know, one of them there, I could see there's blasted tubs there. I think they had a water pump, like a little submersible in there. So many people had these, either next to their vehicle, either next to their camper trailer / caravan, chained to it, or actually permanently mounted on the front, or on the back. And a lot of people weren't using the showers at all. At all. You know, I was one of probably only, you know, less than half a dozen people. You know, really. And there was plenty of people there. There was enough people. It spread out over quite a few acres. But I just thought to myself, my God, all you need to do, you know, that's your answer. And let's say at some of these, they were telling me that that's not the only place that they've seen people long term. There's another place I think they'd been to up north, and the people actually told them directly they've been there for 2 years, you know. There's a lot of them you could tell have been there for more than 6 months, but some of these ones they don't put limits on there. Others, they have a 2-month limit. So if you got one with a 2-month limit, and another one with a 3-week limit, you can potentially bounce between the two. You know, all depends. There might be several of them. Hey, you know, all you got to do is look at the guy. You got to work out how long it takes to reset. Look at that guy rotating between the three without even as much as a bicycle, you know. You add to that a decent van, bloody fine, you know. If you get shit from the guy who runs the one that does the national park one, well, you go to the other one, you know. Whatever. It's I honestly don't think you get shit from any of them. The only government interference I saw, or the government I saw, was a garbage truck turning up because they got bins there and he emptied all the garbage bins, including the one that was behind my van, about 30, 40 yards behind my van. So that was good. It's I never knew, you know. It's just fascinating, you know, to think that there's people that have been there for so long. I saw a bus there, this old school bus, small one. We got a certain Toyota ones they use over here. Same one I went to primary school in, probably literally the same frickin' model. It was old as fuck. Like it was out of the early 80s or something, you know? It really was. It looked like about an 80 friggin' 1 or 82 model or something like that. And I took one look at that thing and I thought, there is no way in fucking hell that thing is roadworthy. Painted multiple colours with what looked like a paintbrush. I could see shit-looking purple, blue, black. It looked like a fucking heap of shit. That's the one that had been there for at least 9 months, you know. But you sort of look at all this, and you think, well, this is camping. It's going to be different in the city. Yeah, it's going to be different in the city. But, yeah, like, you know, it wasn't great sleeping because of the cold. If I'd done that in warmer times, it'd be brilliant. It'd be fantastic. Now, it's going to be different in the city than what it is in a bona fide camping spot, but that really opened my eyes, what I saw there, with people being there long term, and obviously long term, and you can tell because the grass is growing around the wheels of the camper trailer or the old bus or whatever they had, you know. But I've had other ideas lately involving being in the driveway of a business who maybe want their own personal security. If you know a business owner and they're a little bit worried about security, or let's put it like this, they wouldn't mind a free security guard overnight, you might not need to park on the streets, you might be able to slot straight in the driveway. Or you could park in front of his place every single night and nobody's going to question your parking there, because if anyone says anything, say that you're staying there on behalf of him to watch his business because he's fearing a break-in, or he's had a recent break, or what do you know, whatever. You just say he's security conscious and he wants you to be there. You know, and the cops say you're loitering, and say, well, I've got the permission of the guy who owns this place. You know? The other one is you tend to have a lot of old ladies who don't feel secure. They turn on the news and, well, some people claim the news is crap, and I can tell you there's some parts that are obviously fake news. And there's a lot of parts that ain't that fake. And sometimes it doesn't matter if there's one part of town that's white trashville that had a few incidents happen. It still doesn't make the old ladies watching the TV feel any safer. And I have also thought it might be that... I'm not saying there's anyone in my family who fits this, because most of my grandmother's generation are all dead, basically. All of them, even all the aunts, the whole lot. And there's not necessarily one that's going to be near, you know, close enough to my work. But someone's old mama, some little old 80-year-old lady might not feel too safe and might want, you know, a bit of, I'm not saying a man around the house, but just a security presence parked in the front driveway in the form of me in a van. Other people are concerned about, and this is becoming a real big one over here, because they've actually found a few that have been dead for weeks. You know, little old lady who, you know, the son lives interstate and the daughter lives interstate, and they're busy with their lives and all that, and they can manage a phone call to mum maybe once a fortnight, but other than that, they've got no one to check on old mum daily. Hey, I'll check on old mum every single day, make sure she hasn't fallen over and and, you know, hurt a hip and can't get up, I'm willing to do a daily check. But I want to park in the driveway overnight. You know, I'll check she's friggin', you know, she's standing upright and she's, you know, she's conscious and she's getting around and all that, you know. And I don't need keys to the place either. We'll knock on the door, and if she doesn't respond knocking on the door, then maybe we'll investigate further, you know. Maybe we'll try and see why she's not answering the door. So anyway, I'm thinking of these other options that sort of keeps me off the street and with like a semi-permanent answer. You know, and I can park out the front of work, but still, well, there are so many neighbouring trucking companies and so many people winding up these fucking monster bloody diesel V8s and the fucking shipping container lifting equipment, and I don't mean forklifts, I mean some of these bizarre looking things that grab shipping containers from above with umpteen wheels on them, and you know, some of those are noisy little bastards of machines, you know, and there's just freight 24 hours a day at multiple locations all around my workplace, and they all seem to drive past my damn workplace, so I don't know if work's a great idea. Yeah, might not also be a great idea if, you know, anybody gets fired and they have a vendetta, and they know exactly where you are most nights of the week, you know. So I'm not saying I'm going to be there every night of the week, you know, I'm not saying I'm going to be there all week nights, but, you know, I didn't, you don't always want your location identified. You know what it is, you know what it is. You've seen it with van dwellers. The best, you know, I feel it's the less people know, the better, and I get where they're coming from, you know, and anyway, there's some things that will be getting the shove, and that blooming table will be one of them. And that stupid bit of mesh for the extension bench thing, that's going to be another one. And I'm going to make up a little set of legs that I can put directly under the stove. And just have literally just like two, you know, sets that crisscross like that, and you can fold them flat. And I may end up butchering those two sets off another folding table type of thing. You know, I'm sure I'll dig something up or make something up. I'm thinking of some of the folding clothes horses that my parents have, and they've had for years, ever since I was a kid, that will fold flat, and all it is just, well, I've actually got a bit of timber from one, but it's barely any of it left, but it's just like a couple of 1 inch by 3/4 inch type things, and you just have a pin in the middle and they fold like that. I might be a little bit nicer to use aluminium pipe, a little bit less flammable than that, you know. Anyway, I'll work something out in due course, and yeah, I might do that. I think there's enough tables and shit in so many parks around the place. I don't think it's really a trouble to need to have your own table. You know, I'm not in the Walmart car parking lot, and I sure as hell wouldn't even be trying to cook food or sit around with a chair in the Walmart car parking lot, unlike other people. Anyway, so there'll be a couple of things going out, that's for sure, and this whole fake wall, yeah, I'll be honest, I wasn't able to fully extend my legs without, as I said, my head just about touching the back tailgate, and I think I had it set up a little bit differently, and it was actually sitting, I sort of know because of the way the cable is and the plug is for the dual battery system, that it sort of upset things a little bit, and I used to have the other one forward a bit further, so I had that extra 2 inches, and now I've had to yeah, make way for all that. It sort of stuffed up the fake wall. The fake wall, I don't think is a very good idea at all, really. It's, you know, it's just, it's bloody cumbersome, and it's hard to get it in and out too. Just the way I've set the seats up, it's a struggle to get it all packed behind the seat. So I actually gave up trying to put it fully behind the seat, and just laid a lot of it against the bed, in between the porta potty and the bed, actually. So, yeah, in all of that, I didn't even end up using the porta potty, but I'm still going to carry it anyway. And I filled it with gallons of frickin' water, and it's heavy as hell. And, you know, I was close enough that I didn't have to use it. Oh, I might have had a little twinkle on a bush at 1:45 a.m, because I'm sure as hell not walking a couple of 100 yards to the toilet if it's literally ice and everybody else is trying to stay in their bed, and, you know, my neighbours are hundreds of yards, you know, who's going to know? The only thing he'll know is that possum, because that might confuse him when he's sniffing the tree, as I'm sure. I saw him again later, actually, and they're funny because they get fairly close. It's not like a cat where it'll run away. It'll stand only a few yards away and they'll watch you. So I went to try and film him, and as the flash came on as I went to film, he got scared and he ran up the tree. The video was worthless. I deleted it. But I know what brought him out, because I come back. I had a few things that I ate some noodles and that I knew they'd empty the garbage bin. So I had to walk to where the garbage bin was, and it was only like about 40 yards away or something like this. So I walked up there, but because I've gone and drained some of the water off the noodles, as I've come back, I've had the kettle going for the hot water bottle. So I can see the flame, because like I'm just headlamp and it's just pitch black. And you see the flame underneath the kettle sort of thing. And then I had my headlamp on, and I turn to the side and I see another glowing thing, and I think, that couldn't be another flame. The ground's friggin', you know, cold as hell, green grass, it's damp enough. You know, what is it? Must be just something reflecting. Maybe it's someone's got a potato chips, you know, potato crisp bag or something that's reflecting. And I thought, that's funny, and it was reflecting. It was his eyes reflecting in the light of my headlamp. And he'd come up there because he could smell the food that I'd been eating, these noodles and all that, and possibly the fact I'd poured out some of the noodle water on the ground, but he would have been able to smell the food as I was eating it anyway. So he's come up there to see if he can get any damn food. I've gone 40 yards and come back. I've been going for a total of like a minute and a half, and the bugger's come up to where I've still got the stove running to see if he can nick any food. Little turd. They're not exactly raccoons, but then they're not that fearful either. Yeah, there's a particular park I know of, and I've seen some of them, and they sort of try and follow you as you're walking away, and they seem a bit like they're almost trying to get you or something. And someone told me, yeah, those ones in that park do try and attack people. The reason is that homeless people try and take their anger out on the possums, so that when you walk in that park at night, the possums see a person and try and fight back. Fucking idiots. Blimmin' homeless people, you know. In case swearing at you because you don't give them a bit of loose change isn't bad enough, they're going to stir the possums up, so the possums attack people when you go in that park. And I've had them, and they sort of look like they literally like they're trying to follow you as you walk through the park, but I keep a pretty good eye on them, you know. And I haven't been gotten, but apparently other people have had them trying to attack them, so all because of homeless people trying to friggin' torture the little buggers and throw rocks at them and stupid shit. Anyway, yeah, basically it's an opossum, as you'd know it in the States, but this is just a possum, you know, and he wasn't that big. I've seen ones that, a lot of them, most of them, are about the size of black kitty. But there's other varieties, there's different varieties, and some of them are really, really quite small, and he was like a mid-sized variety, or he might have been just a juvenile, large-size one. But anyway, that's next morning when I went to light the kettle up, well, this morning, when I went to light the kettle up, I realised he'd had a little poo-poo around the van, so Yeah. I would have known if he was walking on the roof. Would have been a little bit too obvious, I think. He was probably too scared of me van to walk on the roof though, but in case I come out and ate him. In case I come out and bloomin' captured him or something, but anyway. Anyway, that's just my perspectives. I think it'll take another adjustment to be able to sleep in the city. That will be more of an adjustment than it was to sleep in a camping because of the close proximity of humans, traffic, noise, and the possibility of getting a tap on the door and all that sort of stuff. You know, but I think if you just work on calming your mind and just say we're going to clear our mind, relax, concentrate on the noise, almost like meditate, you know, concentrate on the background noises and just drift off to sleep. I think it'll work. I think ultimately we'll be. I think it might be as bigger an adjustment as moving from on-grid to off-grid, which is an adjustment. It might be slightly more of an adjustment, but I think ultimately we'll be able to make a go of it. But yeah, just as there's quite an adjustment going from early stages of you know, very basic, and I mean, you know, very crude off-grid, having come from on-grid with electric heating and everything, you know, it's going to be a similar sort of a, you know, pretty steep learning curve, and then within a couple of weeks I'll be used to it, I think. So yeah.